In the bottom left of 2,000 atmospheres, it's our first Group D matchup. Starting with our red Protoss in the bottom left for Berserker Esports. This is ForJumy.
The opponent in the top right, in the blue, from Poland, and playing for Genesis Gaming, it is ArT. Love the team logos down there.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, I'm loving a lot more about what's happening here. I mean, obviously ESL's been doing a lot with like the team logos integrated into the overlay, which is super cool. But this is new to me. If you look at the minimap, you can actually see where each player is looking on the minimap. And it feels like finally in 2022 that we've got the technology and it just feels so good.
The technology just wasn't there yet up until now. Finally we made it to this point. Little cheeky probe down there around the expansion for ForJumy, maybe trying to get a little cheeky early on. ArT going for the scouts, and we're seeing the standard wall up the ramp here from both players, and the first deviation is going to be like who takes the earlier expansion. Does anybody want to mix in some more aggression? Seeing that there's no proxy pylon on the map, kind of feels like they're both just going to want to go into the regular expansion. And that pylon is kind of meant to throw off his opponents in thinking there might be a proxy pylon on the map.
Yeah, it's one of those where, yeah, as I say, I mean, it's not going to be super difficult for him to just kind of peek down there and grab that information. So enough for ArT to be able to confirm that it's not inherently cheeky at this point, but still doing his diligent here on the right-hand side,
yeah.
Running his own stuff out. But now, I mean, that just comes down to a little bit of lost mining time. But honestly, it's not going to have a major impact. It would be much less than if he were to miss a proxy.
He missed the pylon, actually. He checked the area around the expansion, but he missed that one pylon. Yeah, this is the one blind spot. So that's why he's all paranoid right now. He's checking the bottom right-hand side. He's checking everywhere on the map. So that pylon really throwing off ArT completely. Maybe it's going to delay his Nexus a little bit, and it seems like ForJumy is about to throw down his own one earlier on.
Oh, well, it's a bit unfortunate here. The best laid intentions, right? So he's going to look literally every single corner except the one that he needs. But a couple of Stalkers are going to still move across. That's not going to slow ArT down, but I think it is going to make him a bit more aggressive than he otherwise might have been. The second Nexus goes down a little bit later than Jumy, but I think ArT's going to start putting pieces together here now that he's going to see the Stalkers.
Absolutely, yeah. So we should head into more of a regular game from there. But nice to win, the early game mind games here like this for ForJumy, because he's 0-3 in this group, and he's only faced Protosses so far. So obviously it was, the big names. I think he faced, I believe, Goblin, Shutdown, and Showtime. So really no shame for losing to these guys. But ArT is 1-2. So it's kind of a must-win for him if he wants to still have a chance. He's currently in 4th position here in this group. So he's well within qualifying range if he can just build up onto the back of some wins here, and he definitely needs to get this one. ForJumy, that would be nice. Like I said, he's one of the newer names for me. That would be nice to see him succeed here and win his first match in this tournament. And I like the way he opens, but he's going to have to stay solid throughout.
Well, I mean, both players doing enough here to just get it pretty standard opening, both going into a blink immediately here. And we're going to just start seeing those second bases get populated. Third gas going to go down for Jumy. And, I mean, yeah, this is just both players kind of playing very, very carefully. I'm not even convinced that ArT has a good read that something weird isn't coming his way. He still has a probe out onto the map. He's going to park that here bottom right side for now. But the lack of a forge right now seems to be maybe telling information that ArT wants to try and move things forward, especially with the Stalker count.
His economy was a bit behind because of the opener and getting tricked by that one pylon. It's really nice for ForJumy that he's able to start +1 this early. But unless you can convert that into some really crisp timing with +1, or sometimes +2 is really the big one if you can get that earlier than the opponent, it's not necessarily going to mean that much. And from there, I expect, Jumy to just kind of try and keep up with the macro, take the third base, saturate that. And both players are doing their due diligence really well with the scouting. in terms of hallucinated phoenixes. But ArT with a great move out here. I think he's going to get the cancel on that Nexus. Very nicely done.
He's going to have to commit to it. Oh, just enough from Jumy to push that back and away. ArT was really worried he was going to be forced into an all-commit there because there's just a few more units here to work with, and those force fields could be really, really deadly for Stalkers that don't have Blink just yet. But ArT's not going to give up on this third base, going to continue poking at it, but that's just going to mean more shields and more health depleted from these Stalkers.
It seems like he wasn't okay with losing 2 Stalkers to get a cancel on the Nexus. It hadn't started for very long, perhaps. So even if you get the cancel, it just gets restarted instantly. And Jumy, actually, well, both players just completed Blink. So he's going to go on the chase here a little bit. ArT getting caught out of position. Supplies still even. That one pylon in the bottom right going to be interesting down the line to see what he uses that for. In terms of what units he sends forward to try and snipe stuff. But yeah, there is this one adept down there right now, trying to catch some probes.
Yeah, a little bit of Shade Micro trying to catch Jumy off guard, but right now Jumy playing very, very cleanly. He's staying on top of his macro here. His third base is now finally getting set up. A little bit of damage on the Nexus, but that's not going to be anything major. That is going to force ArT, though, to try and transition into the later stages of the game. He does have a Forge just finishing up, so his +1 is going to get started here soon, but that's already a full upgrade behind Jumy, who's got +1 already done and Immortal just about to finish, and +2 already on the way.
Yeah, these 2 adepts in the bottom right here definitely cause for worry, because if they shade into the expansion undetected, that's going to be probes dying very, very quickly, no matter what. And then if you start falling behind, let's say like 10 workers, it's kind of hard to recover against a player as solid as ArT, who will be taking all the appropriate steps. On this side, Jumy in the top side here, trying to catch some probes. Himself, he's going to lose 2 adepts and only kill 3, so that's not the biggest of losses, but now we got ArT trying his own at the bottom in a few moments.
Yeah, they're just doing a nice job of exchanging against each other, and 3 workers is just a small amount, not quite enough for the investment. The gateway count finally starting to jump up here for ArT. He's getting up to an additional 5 gateway. That's going to start making this more of a pointed back and forth here. Base going to come under fire once again. These units of ArT just not able to deal the kind of damage that he wants to. It's really nice pylon placement here to just limit the amount of damage that these Stalkers can get done before they blink back and away. And now ArT going to try and limit that. It picks off a couple more. And it's 6 worker kills here at, I believe, it looked like the natural.
Yeah, he used the Stalkers at the front as a distraction while he was shading the Adepts. That's really well done. So he took the attention span away from his opponents. It really deals some good economic damage. I mean, 6 probes, not the end of the world, but we're seeing a little bit of a gap now. It's 63 workers for ArT, 58 for ForJumy, who's taking the 4th base. So is ArT going to be here at the top. And from there, it seems to me like ArT is the one willing to be a lot more aggressive so far. He's really getting out on the map, trying to play aggro. But ForJumy, I think he means it here with this move out. You see, he has double Immortal. He's morphing some Archon. He has the 1 Prism to reinforce. And he's actually going to go for a big timing onto that base. Ideally undetected, but ArT moves out. Okay, that gets detected with the Observer. And immediately ForJumy moves back in a position where he can defend.
Yeah, this is kind of a weird back and forth here. Not a great position for either player to really fight. I think ForJumy has a stronger spot because he's got those Immortals, but ArT going to back off immediately, knows he needs to defend it back at home. A couple of Observers are going to help make sure that he's not going to get caught completely off guard, but needs to have some sort of means of anchoring things down. It looks like 1 shield battery going to be placed down at the 3rd base, supporting the 2nd, but that's really about it here. I mean, Jumy's army, incredibly scary here. Little run-bys, though, that could be helpful for ArT to at least cause a little bit of chaos on the opposite side of the map, pull Jumy's attention just a little bit.
Yeah, the pre-fight concave is going to be very important here. You want to take as clean a fight as possible. We have the first disruptor now for ArT, who's so far behind upgrade-wise. We talked about an upgrade, I don't know if he was delaying it on purpose, but it didn't start +2 until very recently. So there is a 1 upgrade advantage right now for ForJumy, who's looking to try and find an angle to attack into, but I mean, against Disruptor, it's just so dangerous to actually go for it. So he might have to use the Prism, perhaps, around the main base, but then he wouldn't be able to reinforce with his army. It seems like he really wants to attack right now, but he just can't.
Well, I mean, little bits here and there. A couple of stalkers do get separated off on the move command. So Jumy going to take the opportunity here. It's 105 to 102. The army supplies are dead even number-wise, but like you said, those disruptors incredibly scary. And actually, both players going to move out here. Jumy's going to see that that army is out of position, and that is going to cause him to strike here. He's going to come right up the gut, but ArT is just going to push across the map himself.
We could have a big base race here beginning between both players. ForJumy gets on top of that base here before ArT does that himself on the other side. And yeah, I think they might just try and eliminate one another unless somebody wants to try and come back and take the fight. It's really hard to call at this stage, like what you should be doing without like the full information. Obviously, we're seeing everything here as observer. The supply is still pretty even. You're finally talking my language. You're talking about that supply here. You need to keep a close eye on that. But ArT unpowers a lot of the gateways in the main.
Yeah, and I think Jumy was doing a lot of good warping in here. He's got additional zealots here. That extra DPS is going to be really, really important here. But wow, I mean, this is not looking good for ArT here. I mean, Jumy's got a couple of additional bases. He has a Nexus down in the lower right that I don't think ArT is aware of at this point, and these bases are getting annihilated. I mean, this is terrible for ArT. ArT's not going to be able to catch up in time. He did get all of his probes pulled, though, so he could have built additional buildings, but this main army of Jumy is going to be difficult to deal with.
He recalled a small portion only here. He left a lot on the other side. That's kind of weird. Maybe to try and buy time. Yeah, he's playing the elimination. ArT, he has enough for a Nexus. He's going to take the main base of ForJumy. That's amazing.
When the probes get pulled into the fight, that's when you know this game is going to be particularly spicy. It's 110 to 101. So Jumy has the slight army composition build, but those disruptors, if 3 disruptors can just absolutely swing this for ArT, that would just be critical. But this main army is going to be able to get up into this Nexus. I mean, this does have to be defended. ArT's going to respond.
All right, 3 disruptors. Can they somehow win this game? First, Nova is actually going to connect here onto some of the zealots. ArT is so stalker heavy. Oh my god, he has an absurd amount. He has 31 stalkers against 13, but there is more Archons on ForJumy's side. And he still has double immortal against no immortal, but those 3 disruptors really have to do it themselves. Again, he cleans up a lot of the zealots at the front.
Oh, big blink forward. That was very brave by Jumy. But the disruptors are still alive here. Force Field going to try and separate this army out just a little bit more. And ArT is making the most of this engagement here. It's finally going to go in his direction. And Jumy not able to capitalize on the number advantage and falls to ArT 1-0 in this best of 3 so far.
Very nice game. Honestly, ForJumy, he might not be doing well in this group, but he really like went head to head here with ArT, who's been around the scene for a long time. And that was convincing, I thought. Like, obviously, you know, he lost the game, but I really like the way he played it. Maybe just a little bit down on the execution. Some unfortunate things happened, by the way, on both sides. I think the +3, I believe, got cancelled for ForJumy before I was able to complete. And ArT was trying to sneak in a Dark Shrine. And also, I don't know if he cancelled it or if it got sniped, but that didn't finish on time. Because sometimes some DTs here in late game can be amazing if there's no observers nearby. So, really scrappy game here. These guys just both went for it. Nobody was willing to play really defensive. They just went for the kill.
Oh, I was absolutely enjoying that. I mean, anytime I see PvP on the EU server, I know that it's going to get spicy. I've spent so much time, like, in the last couple of years watching ArogFire just execute the dirtiest proxy robo builds over and over again just for fun. And I feel like that has been bleeding over into the rest of the EU scene. So we're not getting like crazy proxies here so far, but like you said, scrappy games gonna make for super fun watching all the way around.
It seemed like it was a conscious decision as well, right? Like, because they were spotting one another in the center like very early when this began, but it was just like, you're going for it, I'm going for it. Let's see, a bit of a game of chicken, you know, like 2 cars going head-to-head towards one another. Who's going to be the first one to turn? Well, neither, really, at this stage. Eventually, it was ForJumy that came back to defend because so many probes had been saved and the Nexus was there in the main, so he had no choice.
Well, I mean, that's gonna definitely give us a little bit of anchoring to do here in game number 2. Top right-hand corner, our blue Protoss player playing for Genesis Gaming. This is ArT.
His opponent in the bottom left in the reds from Germany is ForJumy. Who are you rooting for? Are you an underdog kind of guy, or do you just think like the best player from the series should win? Because I'm kind of rooting for the underdog personally. I wish ForJumy would just win that one series here. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I am always a big fan of the underdog story. It's so easy to, it just feels so good, right? To cheer for the person who's quote unquote not supposed to win. But I almost see it a little bit as, I mean, would love to see the scene continue to like bubble up from the bottom, because if we've got more quality players competing from the bottom of the bracket, that just means the top's got to be that much better.
What about in traditional sports? You also cheer for the underdog. What's your favorite sport and player or team?
Oh, okay. So this is going to be an exercise in like just humility. I'm an American, and I love American football. Grew up watching the Minnesota Vikings, which have just the like worst reputation of not being able to win or putting themselves in position to win and then just losing it themselves. So like I've always been an underdog fan with that, but also just the sadness of, oh, well, you know, things are going great. No, we'll just wait for it to get bad. It'll be okay. But next year's our year.
I thought you were gonna say like Tom Brady or something, and I would be like, "Oh, I'm done." But yeah, no, I know all about that. Nathaniel's also always vocal about the Jets and stuff. His own team.
I think he's like one of the only like football fans that's got it worse than I do somehow.
Okay, no tricky pylon around the expansion this time for ForJumy. Instead, he made it in the top left side of his main base, and that was scouted pretty quickly this time by ArT, not getting tricked. But he locked the probe in here with this pylon that he's going to cancel, so fully denies the rest of the scouting capability from his opponent. ArT's going for his own pylon, by the way, in the ramp of ForJumy to try and see what were the first two units. He saw that was 2 adepts. And he's not going to be able to see that it's 2 more adepts, really pointing towards heavy aggression here from ForJumy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it's a complete opposite style of play here. 4 Stalkers versus 4 Adepts. So definitely, like you said, Jumy going to go for maybe a little bit more aggression here. ArT's going to see the lack of the natural initially. I mean, there isn't even a pylon in the natural right now, so maybe ArT's got some other plans in mind. But right now, he's going to start tapping away at the Nexus going down for Jumy as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting here what's happening, where those adepts are not able to get in on the other sides. ArT is proxying a pylon. There is no third gateway. No, there is. Actually, oh no, that's his target. So he wants to play very aggressive here. I think he saw the first 2 adepts. He probably realized he was going to be 2 more adepts, and he's like, all right, I can heavily pressure you with Stalkers, keep you busy. You won't be able to realize that there is a Stargate, and let me tell you, if there is not a shield battery inside of your probe line, that supply of probes is going to plummet very rapidly.
Oh, and I love the micro here. ArT doing a really good job keeping all the Stalkers alive. So right now there has been no loss on ArT's side. Maybe a probe, yeah, a single probe, but keeping this harassment on. He's now up to 6 Stalkers. That's going to be continued aggression. That's going to force Jumy to pull out Stalkers of his own as well. And like you said, there's that Oracle coming into the production tab here. ArT going to keep ForJumy busy. He's not going to be available enough mentally to drop that shield battery, and that could potentially just be devastating damage, especially since we're already working on hull damage here on this Nexus.
He's warping in sentries here. I think he was trying to trap some of these Stalkers here with some force field, but ArT with some great kiting forced one of the force fields pulled back on time. Now there's that one Immortal kind of chasing those away. The Oracle's about to fly into the main base. There is only 2 Stalkers for ForJumy, and they're at the expansion. This could be a disaster. He's ahead by 3 workers, but the Oracle's done here. I think there's going to be a far bigger gap in ArT's favor.
Oh yeah, this is actually going to be devastating here. The Stalkers are going to have to walk all the way up. Immediately, probes do get pulled off of the line, so that is helpful. But 5 workers immediately on the head here. Now, Adept's going to try and balance that out a little bit on the opposite side. Oh no, the Oracle actually working on the building as well, so a little bit of unfortunate misplay there, but gonna get a pickup with the Phoenix here. That Immortal now gonna be taken out of the equation here. ArT gonna work on knocking down the shield battery, and with the Immortal down, the probes have to get pulled off of the line. Todd, this is not looking good for ForJumy.
Yeah, ArT pushing through, taking out that battery with key here. Great target fire. Probes trying to do what they can. One more Immortal here, trying to help in cleanup. On the other side, Adept were shaded into ArT's main. Those were defended. ForJumy's supply plummeted in the midst of all this, but it's 28 workers against 28.
Yeah, and now this Nexus is going to be completely exposed. There's nothing that Jumy can do. He's just going to have to forfeit the Nexus, and that is a huge misbalance here all of a sudden. Losing out on the third base. Yeah, Jumy's going to have to tap out. ArT takes this series 2-0, and he makes it look easy as he continues to advance in Group D.